in the cemetery, just like the weather, I've cleaned up my leaves in my yard now 9 times. And every time the wind blows, leaves come down. That doesn't mean that the people aren't working. And I'd like to know where you can go and quit your job and then go back later and say, I want my job back. Or better yet, have the board where you work not get the proper vote because they misled in a different direction, and all of a sudden there's a mountain out of a molehill. The woman quit. Leave her alone.
Sir, can you introduce yourself, please?
James Campbell, 885 Mackinac Road.
Thank you.
Sorry, thank you. Melissa Enfield, I'm at 201 West Maple in the village of Linwood. And per a lot of Jeremy's comments here, I've seen over the last several months multiple opportunities for me to speak to a lot of the residents and a lot of the business owners there in the village. And one thing has become increasingly clear, and that the mixed use district, the accessory structures proposals, all of those things, those are solving problems not just for my family. We're talking about solving an issue that exists throughout the village for multiple property owners. In fact, most of the property owners.
You're here.
A lot of the homes and businesses along that village corridor, they've existed longer than the current zoning ordinances, and as a result, a lot of those long established properties don't fit neatly within those zoning classifications, those easy classifications. So a lot of them are non-compliant, and that is not the fault of the property owners. It reflects the fact that our community has changed, while the ordinances haven't changed to reflect that. And the property themselves aren't the ones that are responsible, but they are the ones that have to carry the burden of that non-compliance, okay? Recognizing that, the township itself has invested taxpayer dollars to hire planning professionals to review the zoning ordinances and recommend updates. The zoning administrator, the planning commission, and the consultants have all devoted significant time and expertise to that work, all of which started, as far as I know, before my family even moved to the area, okay? And their recommendations for the mixed use district is intended to bring the ordinances into better alignment with just the reality of what the community does and lives on a day-to-day basis. And what concerns me is that despite months of study and repeated public discussion, and I know there's been public discussion because I've participated in those.
Yes.
I understand that legal review has its place, okay? I understand that there are certainly times where that's appropriate, but there also comes a point where the township has to rely on the professional work that it's already commissioned and move the thing forward. And every additional delay carries a cost. And aside from the legal fees themselves, it creates uncertainty for the residents, uncertainty for the businesses. It requires additional taxpayer resources. I think a lot of the residents at this point are all asking the same question. At what point do we start making the decisions and moving the thing forward? And the principles that our country was founded on is explicitly, like, one of the foundational principles, no taxation without representation. And ultimately, that has to do with public trust. And the principle of public trust is especially important here at the local level. Because here, we are not one single voice among millions. Here, we are neighbors, we are friends, we are family members. We ought to be able to have our voices heard.
Yes.
And we ought to be able to trust that our elected officials are exercising good judgment, being good stewards of taxpayer resources, and remaining accountable to those same people that saw them elected. So over those last several weeks and months, I've spoken with a lot of residents, and we don't always agree on every single issue, but I keep hearing the same concerns. People want timely decisions, they want transparency, and they want confidence that their participation in the local government actually matters, okay? So public trust grows when the residents can see that their concerns are heard, that professional recommendations are given meaningful consideration, and the elected officials are willing to make good decisions and even the hard decisions in a timely and transparent manner. The members of the board are called trustees because you are entrusted with those responsibilities. But that trust erodes when we see obstruction, when we see favoritism, when we see fiscal irresponsibility, and it erodes trust when we as taxpayers work hard to use those proper channels and use the appropriate resources, and then turn around and hear rumors that our efforts are being blocked due to communication that's happening behind closed doors, or worse, being mischaracterized as collusion. So I'm respectfully asking the board to evaluate the mixed-use district and all of the other proposals that come before you on their merits and on the recommendations of the professionals around you and on the recommendations of the public that you serve. Thank you.
You're here.
There you go.
Justin Enfield, 201 Mabel. I'm glad my daughter fell asleep. Because I should have felt really proud this week because we represented our neighbors at the zoning commission, the road commission. And I get home and I hear that one of the people here decided that they believed that there was some kind of collusion going on. And there was lack of transparency going on. So I would like the community to see what collusion looks like. I have 9 children, number 10 on the way. We want this village mixed use district so that we can do chickens and rabbits. We have 2 acres. We came from the Ann Arbor area where they can have 8 chickens on 0.25 acres. We want to teach our children food independence. Because you know what? The price of, you guys bought hamburger lately? I want to have meat rabbits. I want to feed my family and teach my kids how to take care of that so that they're not farming it out to someone else and they just push a button and they get it. Do you understand how that's transparency? How I have come to public demonstrations here, public engagement opportunities, but in between these kind of meetings, we're trying to shut down communication between government and citizen. And that's inappropriate on every level, That is not appropriate at all. And to get a communication that that's happening in this taxpayer-funded office, it sounds like it's an oligarchy and not a representation. So I'm really expecting a formal apology. I'm expecting something in writing that demonstrates a repairing of that betrayal of trust of the citizen. Because Thomas Jefferson said that the agrarian lifestyle is the bedrock of America. Not industry, not foreign imports. Taking care of yourself is what we should be teaching our children and our children's children. And we should be able to use our land to do that. And if it means I can put a shipping container on my 2 acres to take care of my homestead, that's not a business, it's a homeschooling opportunity for my kids to learn how to thrive. They're here because instead of this homesteading opportunity that I wanted to have, it's now a civics lesson. So they get to see what happens when disordered government comes in, creates an oligarchy where the citizen is afraid to try, because as I was walking up to the mic, somebody said, I ain't going up there to face retribution. Well, bring on retribution. Anybody that has a problem with that, with farming, raising your kids to farm, to know that eggs come from chickens and not Meyer. I'd rather say, kids, go take care of the egg producer and have them have that as a responsibility for their life. And then I want them to come up here and work in our local government, work with our elected officials to represent us. That is the foundational principles of America that we've lost. And look at the chaos that's going on in our world. I'm a Charlie Kirk conservative. I want to take care of America. I want America to grow back great. That's all I should say. Thank you.
Amen.